WBCB presents Pro Wrestling Weekly.
Enough is enough, and it's time for a change!
I can't believe I'm putting my voice to this.
Call in with a question or comment at 215-949-3232 or 888-922-2149.
Thank you for your irrelevant opinion.
And now, here's your host of Pro Wrestling Weekly, Fearon Gagne.
The first thing you need to do is to tell these people to shut up if you want to hear what I gotta say.
I'm a broadcast journalist. I have a right to my opinion.
Oh, son of a...
I am the best on this microphone, in that ring, even at commentary.
There's the sound of the bell, and we are set to go. This is Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Fearon Gagne here with you via recording, as Lucas the intern and I are both down in Paulsboro, New Jersey for the 3-day Monster Factory Wrestling Camp. That's right, we're learning the ins and outs of professional wrestling, possibly even stepping inside the ring. We'll have a more detailed look at everything that went down at the Monster Factory next week. However, you have a chance to check it out yourself, just because Lucas and I are learning a bunch of wrestling-related stuff at the Monster Factory. That doesn't mean that you can't be there as well. Checking them out tonight, as wrestling action will be on display at the Monster Factory. It's 541 Mantua Avenue in Paulsboro, New Jersey. The doors open at 6 tonight. The action starts at 7. I'll give you the rundown of the card a little bit later. So much to get into. We had the Extreme Rules pay-per-view this past Sunday. The King of the Ring is back. We'll definitely get into that. But, of course, this past Monday, WWE Hall of Famer Verne Gagne passing away. That's right. This past Monday, he passed away at the age of 89. The news confirmed Monday night by longtime AWA and WWE personality Mean Gene Okerlund, of course WWE Hall of Famer as well, tweeting, "Sad to hear my longtime friend Verne Gagne has passed away. To me, there was never anybody quite like him. May you rest in peace." Gagne, of course, formed the Minnesota-based American Wrestling Association back in 1960 and became its top star. He was a 10-time AWA World Champion, a 2006 WWE Hall of Famer, plus he had a stellar amateur wrestling career as well, winning the NCAA Championship twice in 1948 and 1949, as well as being an alternate member of the 1948 U.S. Olympic team. How about that? Plus, Gagne is one of the few wrestlers to be inducted in the WWE Hall of Fame, the WCW Hall of Fame, the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame, and the Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame. Verne Gagne, dead at the age of 89. Certainly a legend. A lot of people have been chiming in via Twitter. A lot of different people who used to work with him back in the day. Of course, Hulk Hogan, Jesse the Body Ventura, just to name a few. What a shame, though. Verne Gagne, 89 years old, has passed away. Also, some other news that we'll get into over the course of the hour. Daniel Bryan medically unable to compete, and we're not sure for how long. Also, a notable alternative rock star joins TNA Creative. We'll get into that coming up in a little bit. Also, a major TNA star suffering a broken leg. We'll get into that. WWE offering another free month of the network. Got that story for you. Plus, the quarterly report. That's right, WWE's Vince McMahon and his financial officer, George Barrios, they did the conference call on Thursday to talk about their latest numbers. And, I'll tell you how it went down and how Wall Street reacted. But we'll get into the Extreme Rules pay-per-view first, making a note of a bit of a shuffling of the card thanks to a certain goat-faced individual who chants yes a lot. That's right, Daniel Bryan medically unable to compete. So WWE, they pulled Daniel Bryan from the Extreme Rules lineup this past Sunday. His scheduled opponent, Bad News Barrett, well, he faced Neville in the kickoff. We'll get back to that in a second. Bryan was also removed from the lineup for Raw and SmackDown this past week, as of Monday. And then on Tuesday, he was pulled from the advertising for all upcoming live events and television tapings that he had previously been listed to appear. That's a little concerning. Meanwhile, WWE hasn't issued any update regarding Bryan's health other than he's, quote, not medically cleared to compete. Kind of a no-bleep Sherlock statement, as he hasn't appeared really on anything. So, without Daniel Bryan on the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, we had, as I mentioned, Neville beating Bad News Barrett in a little over 10 minutes. Then in the actual pay-per-view, well, you had the Chicago Street Fight. Dean Ambrose and Luke Harper, and they got to a point where they both entered a car and drove out of the arena, which kind of left fans hanging and wondering what was going to happen next, and kind of felt like if that was the end of the match, that they were getting the short end of the stick, and felt the need to amuse themselves by chanting for that former WWE superstar turned UFC guy who happens to be very popular in Chicago. So with the street fight being taken to the streets, that led to the next match where somebody was going to pucker up. That's right, Dolph Ziggler and Sheamus in the Kiss Me Arse match. Well, Ziggler ended up winning, and after the match, Sheamus, after much protesting and stalling, rather than puckering up, he decided to deliver a shot between the legs, a little bit around the corner from the arse, low-blowing Ziggler and hitting a brogue kick on him before putting Ziggler's unconscious face on Sheamus's backside. So the thing's not exactly going as planned. I don't know. It all seems let's get away from this whole arse thing as quickly as possible. Words I never thought I'd say. Big E and Kofi Kingston, a new day. That's right. They're clapping their way to the top, and they certainly did, facing Tyson Kidd and Cesaro and beating them to become the new WWE Tag Team Champions. In both the Kiss Me Arse match and the tag title match, Lucas and I both picked incorrectly on both of those. Not off to a great start for the pay-per-view. Following that, somehow the vehicle that Dean Ambrose and Luke Harper went out of the arena into, well, they came back and fought around some more, and eventually Dean Ambrose beat Luke Harper in that Chicago street fight. Maybe they went out for some deep dish Chicago pizza. I don't know. I don't know what the whole leaving the building and then coming back later was. Maybe it was just a stall for time. Who knows? Next up was the Russian Chain match, where John Cena beat Rusev to retain the United States Championship. And then later in the pay-per-view, it would be announced that Cena and Rusev would face off yet again at Payback, but we'll get into that coming up a little bit later. Then you had the Divas Championship. Nikki Bella defeating Naomi to retain the Divas title. The first time that Lucas and I guessed differently, and things went my way in that particular one. Of course, Cena and Ambrose winning their respective matches. Lucas and I got those right as well. Then the Last Man Standing match, which a lot of people were saying was the match of the night, even though there weren't really high expectations going in. Roman Reigns, he was the last man standing in just under 20 minutes. Lucas and I getting that one right. And then the cage match, the convoluted cage match for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Seth Rollins and Randy Orton, where the RKO was banned and Kane was the gatekeeper. Insert your own Ghostbusters joke here. But despite interference from Kane as well as J&J Security, Randy Orton fought valiantly, but the numbers game was too much as Rollins ended up escaping the cage to retain the World Heavyweight Championship, or WWE World Heavyweight Championship, dare I say. So, all knotted up at 18-10, or 18-10 between Lucas and I, and we'll see how we do in a couple weeks with the Payback pay-per-view. A couple matches already announced for it, as John Cena will defend the United States Championship, presuming he doesn't lose in one of the weekly open challenges. But he will face Rusev in an I Quit match. And then Seth Rollins, he's defending at WWE World Heavyweight Championship. courtesy of a fan vote this past Monday on Raw in a triple threat match against Randy Orton and Roman Reigns. So there you go, your payback lineup, your look at Extreme Rules. We're going to take care of our first bit of business, and then we'll come back, get into some more news and notes, also some Facebook feedback, and also we'll talk a little Monster Factory as well, as that's where Lucas and I currently are. We are learning all kinds of things about professional wrestling. I'll tell you a little bit about we'll have more on the 3-day camp next week after we've gone through the whole experience, but the weekend, as I haven't been there as of the time of this recording, should be a lot of fun. A lot of different names going to be there. Kevin Kelly and Brutal Bob Evans from Ring of Honor, they're going to be there. Cliff Compton formerly from WWE, he's going to be in the house as well. So we're going to be learning everything from promos to ring psychology, setting up and taking down the ring, and hopefully I won't have to sprint too much. This is Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com.
And now, more Pro Wrestling Weekly with your host, Fearon Derry.
Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Fearon Derry here with you, courtesy of Memorex, as Lucas the intern and myself are down at the Monster Factory, part of the 3-day camp that is going on that we are both participating in, learning all kinds of stuff in and outside of the wrestling ropes. You can check out their show tonight. Let's get into that before we get back to the other news and notes and whatnot that's going on. You can check out the Monster Factory tonight. Wrestling action will be on display. It's at 541 Mantua Avenue in Paulsboro, New Jersey. The doors open at 6 tonight, and the action starts at 7 o'clock. You can check out Bandito Jr. defending his Supersonic Championship against War. He's been out for a little while. Now, good to see he's back. Also, Wildman Congo faces QT Marshall. The Bloodbound Warriors, they go against the Down Boys in a tag team #1 contenders match. The winner will get a title shot against Shooters, Inc. Plus, a huge 8-man tag team match as all 3 members of Shooters, Inc., Nick Camarado, Matt Riddle, and Billy Damiana, team up with a returning Luis the Punisher Martinez to square off against Paid in Full's Chad Kensington and Royale Money, along with Bender and Monster Factory Heavyweight Champion Clutch Adams. Again, it's all going down at the Monster Factory tonight. 7 o'clock is the bell time. 541 Mantua Avenue, Paulsboro, New Jersey. Tickets just $15, and for the kids 12 and under, just $10. More info available at monsterfactory.org. Now, going to the Facebook fan page for a little bit, of course, the WBCB Pro Wrestling Weekly Facebook fan page. There was a little bit of humor kind of put on me on a not-so-humorous situation. Dan from Levittown chiming in, breaking news, doctors proclaim major developmental talent, Fearon Derry, will be able to participate in ring activity this weekend. There was a bit of a medical scare, and Dan, I guess, kind of poking fun at that a little bit. First of all, what are you doing calling me a talent? Because you've heard my show long enough. Yeah, you know it's anything but. No, there was a shoulder injury over the course of last weekend playing softball that I was worried might have kept me from being involved in the camp. It was something stupid, too. You know what, I've got a sec to be able to talk about it. Was playing softball in a league that I'm in, and was in the outfield and went to track a fly ball, and me not being all that graceful or athletic or anything like that. The ball was a little too low to catch overhand and a little too high to catch underhand, and I ended up catching the blasted ball with my thighs. But you're wondering, how did you injure your shoulder? Well, as I went to transition the softball from between my thighs to my hand or glove to show the umpire, hey, I caught it, it didn't hit the ground, it's an out, that ends the inning because it's the third out. I lost my balance and fell and landed right on my shoulder, thus separating the AC joint. Not getting too medical or whatever, but basically lots of pain. It's the part of your shoulder that allows you to lift your arms over your head, which is kind of an important thing in life in general, not just necessarily in softball or wrestling or anything like that. But needless to say, lots of doctor's appointments and whatnot. I'm able to be involved in things, but thanks, Dan, for kind of pointing that out and having a little bit of fun. In some other feedback, Joseph chiming in, I really wish Michael Cole would stop saying "for the win" every time a pinfall attempt occurs. You know that it never happens. I understand it's for the play-by-play benefit, and if it's used on occasion, it's fine, but now it's way overused. I understand that, and I probably agree with that. I mean, that's something that hasn't really changed. Maybe the verbiage has, or the wording has, but it's pretty much been a dead giveaway for decades. And when somebody says this is the finish, you know it isn't, or this is going to do it right here, or we have a new champion before the 3 count even occurs. You're more than certain that they're going to kick out. I mean, that goes back to Vince McMahon and his commentary days, and that at this point is going a good almost 20 years ago. Actually, 97 is when he stopped commentating. So 18 years ago was the last time that Vince did commentary full time, and he was notoriously guilty of doing that very thing. Also, Joseph chiming in, I guess the Bellas versus Naomi, who is a badass heel, by the way, could be considered a double turn. Looks like the Bellas are faces of this new feud. There's a little bit more there, but I decided to leave it out. Just referring to terminology for the Bellas being disliked that I probably could say, but why risk it? We'll get back to the Facebook fan page coming up, but first some tidbits, news, notes, and other fun things from the week, as there's certainly been a lot to talk about, including the King of the Ring. It was here and gone in a flash. WWE announcing on Sunday that the King of the Ring tournament would return, with the semifinals and finals being network exclusives. They held the quarterfinals on Raw this past Monday, and the last 2 rounds Tuesday on the network. Who was in it? How did they fare, you ask? Well, I'm going to tell you. Started off with Raw and Bad News Barrett pinning Dolph Ziggler in a little over 8 minutes following a distraction from Sheamus, with all of the arse nonsense from the night before, to advance in the tournament. Your other quarterfinal matches, you had R-Truth beating Stardust. I don't know what exactly R-Truth did to get into the tournament or be one of the qualifying 8, but they decided to go along with it, so why not? Also, Sheamus ended up advancing as he beat Dean Ambrose by disqualification when Dolph Ziggler came out and attacked Sheamus. And then the final quarter-final match, or the last of the quarter-final matches, Neville defeated Luke Harper in a little over 2 minutes to advance. So that brings you to the network-exclusive semifinals and finals that aired Tuesday night, where you had Sheamus against Neville and R-Truth against Bad News Barrett, and the winners would go on to face each other in the finals to see who would be the King of the Ring. So, going to the network-exclusive, Neville pinning Sheamus in what many people have to consider an upset to advance to the King of the Ring finals, and then Bad News Barrett beating R-Truth in fairly handy fashion to advance to the King of the Ring finals. So you had Bad News Barrett and Neville, rematch from a couple of days earlier with the Extreme Rules pay-per-view, and while Neville got the victory at the pay-per-view pre-show, it was not the case as the stakes were higher with the King of the Ring. So your King of the Ring, none other than Bad News Barrett. They could have some fun with that. As your king, I'm afraid I've got some bad news. Yeah, there's at least something workable there if they decide to go that route. Switching over to TNA for a moment, Billy Corgan joins TNA Creative. That's right, TNA has hired Smashing Pumpkins frontman Billy Corgan as the senior producer of creative and talent development. Corgan telling Variety.com, quote, "There's a tremendous opportunity to go into really fresh new directions. Having characters who explore race or transgender issues is certainly a possibility. There are ways to explore those themes in ways that are productive, create new stars, and show that value-based baby faces, no matter what their background, no matter where they come from, can draw new audiences and inspire people in new ways." TNA President Dixie Carter speaking on the move as well, saying, quote, "We need to make our existing characters have a greater depth to them. We want the stories to have a depth and a meaning to someone that is relevant today. Billy can really help that." I guess with the music background, I guess there's something to go with it as far as a creativity thing. I don't know. Congrats, Billy. You're, maybe he'll bring wrestling back to 1979. I don't know. It could be a good thing or a bad thing. It's hard to say. Some Facebook feedback on both of those topics. Actually, yeah, quite a bit regarding the King of the Ring as well as Billy Corgan joining TNA. Ross from the Minnesota Wrecking Crew chiming in saying it was probably Destination America who decided on this, being that they are the money behind the company and chose what happens and who comes in. I don't know. I know that it's a new network, but I don't know how much clout they necessarily have right off the bat that they're saying, "Hey, we want you to sign the guy from Smashing Pumpkins." I don't know. It doesn't make sense, but stranger things have happened. Meanwhile, regarding the King of the Ring, Joseph with a post of, "I enjoyed the mini King of the Ring tourney. It looked like a mini pay-per-view within a Raw, including its very own graphics and King of the Ring set." Well, yeah, I mean, between the scepter and the robe and the crown and the whole bit, I can see how it would be fairly elaborate. John from Northeast Philly chiming in on the Facebook fan page, saying, "A friend of mine and I were discussing this at work, not during work because that would imply that we weren't working anyway." Oh, his humor. "What if instead of having Extreme Rules and Payback, the WWE were to use the months after WrestleMania to build up a giant March Madness-style tournament consisting of 32 or more stars, half from WWE in a WWE bracket, and half from NXT in an NXT bracket, broken down into multiple rounds, and the stars would have ranks which would be based on the WWE power ratings." I was with you until you overexpanded this with the... I don't know. With the tournament is kind of lengthy. That's part of it. I mean, the power rankings tend to convolute it a little bit. You can barely get them to pay attention to them being WWE Creative. Who attacked who the week prior? You know, what feuds are going on? There's a lot of consistent inconsistency in that regard. So it's hard to say. He goes on to note here, "For weeks on Raw, NXT, WWE, network guys would fight it out to become the King of the Ring, and the winner would be decided in the final match at SummerSlam, and the winner gets a WWE title shot whenever they choose. How does that work out? Certainly a lot more interesting than Extreme Rules and Payback. If this happened, who's in and who's out? What makes someone eligible? Would you trade the 20th rank in the King of the Ring tournament for Marcus Mariota?" Apparently the answer is no to that. "Will Fearon be medically cleared to perform? Discuss, and then reflect on what is being discussed. King of the Ring this past week was very refreshing to see. Plus, this idea could really push and help young talent." Wow, where to begin with all that? I don't know. The problem with tournament formats is the unpredictability factor. You don't know who is, who's going to be facing off for a major championship or something like that. And that unpredictability doesn't tend to lead people to buy in to a pay-per-view or concept or whatever. WWE had the King of the Ring pay-per-view for 10 years, and apparently after a while it just didn't really move the needle for them, so they switched over to a more UFC-style approach between Brock Lesnar and others. And I don't know, tournaments in the past just never really, I don't know, the fans tend to get bored by them. I mean, you look back to WrestleMania 4 in the WWF Championship Tournament. You look to Survivor Series 98, Deadly Game. Just a couple of examples of tournaments that went on too long. Now, maybe in those cases it was also because it started off with a field of 16, or I guess 14 with buys, and that just dragged on, especially in a 3-hour pay-per-view, or even in the WrestleMania case, a 4-hour pay-per-view. It just tended to wear fans thin, I suppose. I don't know. And I'm not even going to get into the whole Mariota discussion, because I'm sure people have talked about that ad nauseum over the course of the last day and a half or so. Joseph chiming in, did anyone watch King of the Ring? It was pretty good. All hail King Bad News. Neville versus Barrett as the finale made sense. This opinion will not be popular, but I am already tired of Neville, says Joseph. Same moveset every match. It seems almost as if he's being pushed down our throats way too fast. Now, I can understand the potential for stagnation, especially if you put somebody out there consistently week after week. People tend to get bored with them. People tend to sour on them. And Lucas, in response, says, I'd rather have Neville push down our throats than Reigns, referring to Roman Reigns. Pushes are a tricky thing. If you put too much force or put too much emphasis on a particular individual to the point where the fans get sick of them, they're just going to backlash. You've seen it with John Cena. You've seen it with Roman Reigns. Even looking back, you kind of saw it a little bit with Diesel back in 94, 95. I mean, there are a lot of guys who got the rocket kind of strapped to them. The Rock, he's a great example. The blue chipper, the Chia Pet hair, the fans just weren't into it even a little bit. And to a degree also Hogan in the tail end of his initial WWF run was also starting to get stale. So it pushes, as I said, are it's a very fine line between somebody being pushed just enough and somebody being over-pushed. Now, before I over-push my voice, let me take care of our second time out here. And on the other side, what we got today in wrestling history, we've got birthdays. Still got to tell you about our good friends over at George's Cards and Collectibles. Also, Booker T issuing an apology for something that he said on Raw that might have been misconstrued. And a major TNA star suffering a broken leg. We'll tell you who that is on the other side. Plus, WWE and all their quarterly reports and whatnot. We'll get into that as well. Also, a TNA couple announcing their engagement. Who might it be? Definitely not me. This is Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Pro Wrestling Weekly presents Today in Wrestling History, May 2. On this date in 1987, the AWA held its Super Clash 2 Supercard. In the main event, Kurt Hennig pinned Nick Bockwinkel to win the AWA World Heavyweight Championship. On this date in 2005, WWE Monday Night Raw aired live from Boston, Massachusetts. In the main event, Chris Benoit defeated Triple H by submission. On this date in 2011, WWE Monday Night Raw aired live from Miami, Florida. In the main event, John Cena defeated The Miz by disqualification to retain the WWE Championship. This has been Today in Wrestling History, May 2.
Hi, this is Jim Cornette, and you're listening to Pro Wrestling Weekly with Fearon on 1490 WBCB.
Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Fearon Derry here with you via recording as Lucas the Intern and I are down at the Monster Factory learning all kinds of wrestling-related stuff. You have a chance to check them out, too. Head on down there to their show tonight, starting at 7 o'clock. The doors open at 6. You'll more than likely see Lucas and I there in some capacity. Who knows? I could be part of the ring crew. I could be collecting. I could be taking the cash for tickets at the door. Who knows what we're going to be doing? It should be a fun time. We'll have the recap of everything that went on down in the 3-day camp on next week's show. Plus, we'll go over what's going to be a jam-packed week of professional wrestling in the city of Philadelphia, including a couple of shows from Ring of Honor New Japan. We'll go into the details of that next week, as well as NXT coming to Philadelphia for not one, but 2 shows. That's right, they added a second one. We'll get into all that next week. The long and the short of it is that Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling, they'll be at the old ECW arena a week from this Tuesday and Wednesday, and then the Thursday and Friday, the 14th and 15th, NXT will be at the Tower Theater in Upper Darby. I'll have more details about all that next week. Some other things to let you know about. A TNA couple announcing their engagement. That's right, Davey Richards and Angelina Love announcing their engagement via social media this past Monday. Love tweeting a picture of her engagement ring on her hand and a quote, "I give my hand to you with all my heart. I said yes, I love you at Richards Wesley." Congrats to the engaged couple. Also, some more TNA news. Jeff Hardy suffering a broken leg. That's right. TNA President Dixie Carter announced on Twitter that Jeff Hardy suffered a broken leg in a dirt bike accident on Tuesday. Carter also tweeted out on Wednesday that Hardy was having surgery later that day to repair his broken tibia bone, better known as the shin bone. That is a painful, painful deal, to say the least. Now, something else that was painful, at least in some semblance, Booker T, he apologized for some comments that he made not too long ago. No, not those comments.
Let me tell you something, Gene Oken. You out here talking about a clique. The only clique you need to know about is the Harlem Heat and Sister Sherry. See, because what you dealing with here is the brotherhood. It's non-stop from this point on in WCW. We take what we want, and after we take Lex Luger and the Giant, we want the gold sucker. Hulk Hogan, we coming for you.
No, in this case, the comments didn't involve any N-bombs, but they did involve one Owen Hart. That's right, Booker T issuing an apology via Twitter regarding a comment made during Monday's Raw television show. Booker tweeting, "I would never say anything to disrespect the legacy of Owen Hart. If I did offend anyone, I apologize." For those wondering what he say, well, Booker T and JBL were having a chat about different King of the Ring winners during the qualifying match between Neville and Luke Harper. And Booker T made mention that Owen Hart couldn't defy gravity like Adrian Neville does. It was meant as a compliment to Neville's high-flying ability, but apparently some people thought it was a dig at Owen and his fatal fall back in May of 1999. Are you kidding me? Have we gotten that sensitive that innocuous things like that have to be analyzed and critiqued and ripped apart? I mean, if that were the case, I'd be apologizing multiple times each week for just random things that I say here on this program. I don't know. I think people need to lighten up a little bit and quit looking to be offended, even when there's no offense intended on, as I said, the most innocuous of things. Frustrating. Also frustrating if you're a follower of the WWE Network or a subscriber. WWE offering another free month of the network for new subscribers. That's right. It was mentioned in the WWE quarterly conference call on Thursday that WWE is expanding the free month for new WWE Network subscribers into the month of May. Now, the number of worldwide subscribers is over 1.3 million, and WWE hopes to continue its growth with the free month advertising. However, it seems like another example of WWE catering to potential new fans while sticking it to loyal fans who have been around from the start. I mean, the network's heading into its 15th month of existence, and this is now the 4th month that WWE is offering a free month to new subscribers, the others being November of 2014, February of this year, and, of course, this past month, the month of April. Wall Street, they weren't exactly enthused as WWE stock fell almost $1 a share on Thursday to $13.42 a share. That's where it sits as of this recording. They also mentioned the pay-per-view buys for the first 3 months of 2015. That's right, WWE releasing those first quarter numbers on Thursday. Not surprisingly, pay-per-view buys are down across the board thanks to the subscribers of the WWE Network. That's kind of the transition they're going for. The Royal Rumble went from 467,000 buys last year to only 145,000 this year. Fastlane produced only 46,000 buys versus last year's Elimination Chamber, which had 183,000. And WrestleMania, that had a very notable drop over the last couple of years, as in 2013, WrestleMania 9 had over 1 million buys. Last year, WrestleMania 30 had 690,000, as the network was still a new thing barely a month in. And this year's WrestleMania 31 brought in only 259,000 pay-per-view buys. Take that, cable companies. Or something like that. Also, let me let you know before I make my way on out of here, George's Cards and Collectibles, they are bringing you the legends, including a couple weeks from now, Friday, May 15th from 6 to 8 p.m., Jim the Anvil Neidhart will appear for autographs and photos at George's Neshaminy Mall location. And also Saturday, June 13th from 2 to 4 p.m., the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion of all time, the Honky Tonk Man, he'll be at George's in the Neshaminy Mall. Check out George's 3 locations for all of your sports and wrestling memorabilia needs, including their original store at 7755 New Falls Road in Fairless Hills, on the lower level of the Oxford Valley Mall next to the Sears Court, and in the Neshaminy Mall in the AMC Theater Wing. For more information on the upcoming Jim the Anvil Neidhart and Honky Tonk Man signings, you can give George's a call at 215-943-2475 or go to georgescollectibles.com. Well, we're coming to it a little bit earlier than usual, but I've got a little fun something planned from the past just in relation to this. Of course, it's Lucas's favorite segment.
Birthdays!
Yes, the birthdays. Got 3 of them for you here today. First off, in 1963, Raymond Traylor Jr. was born, the former WWE Tag Team Champion and 4-time Hardcore Champion, best known as the Big Boss Man, passed away in 2004 from a massive heart attack at the age of 41. On this date in 1967, Marty Garner was born. The former WWE and ECW competitor turns 48 today. Garner wrestled in ECW back in 1999 and 2000 as hillbilly wrestler Puck Dupp, a member of the Dupp family. His other claim to fame was one WWE pay-per-view where he, under his own name, was squashed by a debuting Montel Vontavious Porter at the No Mercy 2006 pay-per-view. And most notably, on this date in 1972, Dwayne Johnson was born. You might have heard of him. The actor, former 8-time WWE champion, 2-time Intercontinental champion, 5-time Tag Team champion, 8-time Slammy Award winner, the 2000 Royal Rumble winner. He's also known to call himself the jabroni-beaten, pie-eaten, trailblazing, eyebrow-raising, people's champ, The Rock. That's right, he turns 43 today. And in a little fun bit here, we're going to look back to his return, at least in some part-time form from a few years ago, February 2011, where he made his return to WWE after a roughly 7-year hiatus.
After 7 long years. Finally, The Rock has come back to Anaheim! Which means, finally, The Rock has come back to Monday Night Raw! Which means, finally, The Rock has come back home! Now before The Rock gets into that, before we electrify, before we turn this out tonight, for those of you who don't know, The Rock has many nicknames. The Great One, the most electrifying man in all of entertainment, the People's Champion. But I want to tell you something that's important to me right now. I need to take this moment, and I need to tell you something as Dwayne. It's been a long time since I've been back. 7 years to be exact. But I want to take this moment in the middle of this ring to tell you why I'm back. It's not because of the money. It's not to promote a movie. I am back in the middle of this ring because of you. When I left the WWE 7 years ago, I dreamed big, and you guys dreamed big with me. You helped me accomplish my goals, accomplish my dreams, because you never left my side. And I want to take this moment to tell you all here, you're live here, millions watching around the world. I want to tell you thank you, I love you, and it is because of you that I'm back in this ring, and it is because of you, and I give you my word, I am never, ever going away. Simply put, ladies and gentlemen, The Rock is back! Now, The Rock is back because I wanted to do something unprecedented, something no man had ever done before. I wanted to host WrestleMania. So it happened. The Rock called Vince McMahon. And Vince McMahon said, Rock, I know why you're calling. I know you know I need a host for WrestleMania. Rock, there's only one man electrifying enough to host WrestleMania. Rock, there's only one man that can captivate the world. Rock, that man can only be Justin Bieber. But I told Vince, I said, whoa, no, hey, no. The Rock knows Justin, he's cool. Dig the kid, cool kid. But make no mistake about it, Vince, there is only one man capable enough to host WrestleMania. That man is the jabroni beating, pie eating, trail blazing, eyebrow raising, step off the brake, put your foot on the gas, always ready to whoop some ass, People's Champ, The Rock! The Rock is going to WrestleMania. The Rock will host WrestleMania, and at the drop of a dime, The Rock will lay at the smack down at WrestleMania. But to who? That's the question. Could it be the WWE Champion, The Miz. He's the one that goes around saying, I'm The Miz and I'm awesome. I'm awesome. I'm awesome. I hear that all the time. I'm awesome. Well, The Rock ain't no scientist, but he pretty much knows that there's one formula that's a fact. If you got to run around shooting your mouth off telling everybody how awesome you are, it means you absolutely, undoubtedly, unquestionably, 100% completely suck. But there's one more man who The Rock wants to see. There's one more man who The Rock is gonna see. And that man
Can I have your attention, please? I have just received an email from the anonymous Raw General Manager.
Whoa, 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 whoa! Michael Cole, if you take one more step towards that computer, The Rock will get out of here and slap the taste so far out of your mouth you'll never get it back. Shut up. Michael Cole, you actually think that The Rock is just gonna let you walk over to that computer and interrupt him when he is live on Raw? Is that what you think? Do you actually think that any of us give a damn what your general manager has to say? Michael Cole, is that what you think?
I'll tell you what I think.
It doesn't matter what you think! And what you do, Michael Cole, is you sit your ass at that announcer booth, you take off your headset and you don't say a word. And I quote, you know your damn role and shut your damn mouth.
That's going to just about do it for me here. Hopefully, depending on what my health status is after the Monster Factory 3-day training camp, Lucas and I should be back next week to talk all about it, as well as a preview of an upcoming wild week in wrestling in Philadelphia. Plus, we'll make our way to Payback, as that's only a couple weeks away. Thanks for tuning in. Head on down to the Monster Factory tonight to check out Lucas and I, and who knows what insanity is going to go on. And we'll be back next week here on Pro Wrestling Weekly on 1490 WB.